thank you so much for being here. I can't believe that we're doing this.
Yeah.
It's going to be a 5-hour episode, 2 parts, because we are doing something so unique that I have not done ever, but especially for this platform. I don't think anybody has ever experienced what we're about to experience. Tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do, and then we can go from there.
Okay, well, yeah, thank you for having me here. It was really great meeting you, and especially because we're both from Ecuador, and there was this magnetism when I saw you too. It was like, oh, I have to go talk to her, and then learning about you and the podcast and everything, I was like, oh, perfect, and then we can do this, and it just worked out so well. Yeah, but yeah, so. Like I said, I'm from Ecuador. I moved here when I was about 10 years old, and I grew up not really in a very chaotic like lifestyle, because I became an artist, and I was in the whole bohemian scene, and it was living in the moment and living in the present, and I didn't really have a direction as to where I was going and who I wanted to become, and I was also detached from my feminine energy and all of that. For me, that seemed that's just not me, or that's just I didn't care for any of that, and that. Realizing that years later, that got me. I was so lost. I was so lost, and I did. And I had a partner all those years, and he became my husband now, and we both did that growing up together. Wow. But it wasn't until COVID hit that there was the shift that happened everywhere. I feel this. Enlightenment and change in the world, and I feel like COVID got used as a way to block that from people, from reaching that other level that they need to be at. So I was in that mentality that this is not real. They're making this up. And and it's not about this, it's about something bigger. And I felt that calling. I started feeling this change, in me, and then that's when intuition really hit in me, oh, this is what that is, to follow what's in your gut. So it was that rebellious person that would go out when I didn't need to go out, and mostly you could go to parks if you did go out, everything else was closed. So I became more connected to nature, and I did my walks. I would go out with my partner, and then we decided to help people start their own gardens at home, and that became a thing. And we went to friends' house, my grandma's house, my aunt's house, and we learned how to build raised beds and do little gardens for everybody. So as that was during the springtime after COVID, which was, I think that was 2020 it happened, 2020, right? So then it was 2021, the springtime of that. And we were working so hard outside, and I just started connecting with the elements and nature. And then I realized that all of that opens up fertility in a human being, So, a few months after that, I got pregnant. Wow. I got pregnant, and it was just what am I doing? At first, I was well, I guess what society tells you, you're not ready. The world is falling apart. Why would you take this route? Being a mother is being a slave, and being, a wife. And it just started all of those things talking to me. And I was that's not really me. What is this? And I realized that's just fear, and as I was, I was a month and 2 months pregnant. I was okay, I need to understand what is this whole change that happens in a woman, and I knew for sure giving birth needed to happen at home, especially with the whole COVID thing and, going to a hospital. Yeah. I didn't want to be taken to another room or like taken away from like my husband. And it's like, no, I need to give birth in a safe space, because this is a sacred thing that's happening in a woman, and we are the portals of life. And then I learned about free birth. And my sister also was she was the one that got me into the free birth. She did 2 home births as well, so I did attend one, but I still didn't have a connection with like how wonderful and much of a blessing that is, because I don't think you really know that until you become a mother.
That's so true.
You know, that's like
so
no
true.
one
You
can
don't
really
know it until you're living it.
Yeah, no one can really understand you until they become a mother themselves. So yeah, I learned all about that, and I knew I wanted to keep it as natural as possible and to connect and go within. So I think maybe I was almost about to be like 6 months pregnant, and I was doing a lot of meditations, and just like talking to the baby and visualizing how the pregnancy is going to be and how the birth is going to be. And my dreams were keep getting intense, and I was getting messages through them. And in one of those messages, I heard like the word Tulum, which Tulum is a place in Mexico.
Yeah.
And I didn't know Tulum, like anything about Tulum. I didn't know Tulum existed. And I was like, Tulum. And I looked it up, and I was like, oh, this is beautiful. Like, I would love to do like my baby moon there, you know? And then I decided to travel there. And once I got there, it was just so many pregnant women. And I'm like, is this a place like that pregnant women come?
Really?
Yeah, so many.
And you were pregnant?
And I was pregnant. I was 6 months. So I was like, okay, let's go now before I get, any bigger. And then it's harder to travel. So I'm like, let me do it now. So I did it. We went. And it was like a whole different world there, because, no one was really afraid of COVID. They weren't wearing masks. It was right there by the ocean. Wow. It was beautiful. And there were so many women that were pregnant. And I found a lot of like parteras, like midwives, and a lot of women that were doing rituals for like the pregnant women. And I just like learned a lot there. And I realized that I went there too because I needed to go pick up my daughter's soul. That was one of the messages in one of the dreams, was like, I had to go there. Like she's there. At the moment I didn't know it was going to be a girl. So but it was like, like your baby comes from here. Like you need to go into this sacred space. And it is a sacred space. And it was a great experience. And I think like once after that, I was like, okay, like intuition it is, follow that
your gut.
Feeling, follow that gut. Like sometimes you don't need to explain to someone why you feel a certain way, because that's how intuition is. It's a feeling, and it's hard to explain. There's no scientific explanation for things like that. And I feel like pregnancy is supposed to be more of that and less of the medical side of it, And taking my husband on that journey too, I think it helped him understand and see it and experience it and trust the process of natural birth, and that he needs to trust me because I know what's going on, So yeah, that was a really big one. And then, like 9 months later, I gave birth at home. I made a ceremony, and it was wild. It was a wild free birth. So intense. I felt so much energies there present in the birth of my daughter, and it was even more intense when I saw her, because it's like it's a girl, and I did so much. There was also a lot of like spiritual growth in that moment of giving birth, and in the next few months, like my life just changed, and I realized that, like that old Melina that was doing, whatever she was doing before as an artist was just like, she was just lost. And I felt like, I'm sorry that I didn't know, and she needed love, and she needed so much, and she didn't know, So, through all that change, I got more into nature and plants and connecting spiritually to all of that. And And then it came the part where, like, what happens if your baby gets sick? What do? And I didn't want to be taking my child to the pediatrician all the time and relying on that system.
Yeah.
So then I started learning about making my own medications, my own elixirs, and my own body balms for diaper rash and all of that. And that got me more deep into it. And through that, like, Hydromels was born, which is pretty much like a line of natural infused herbal products. And it's right now it's at the moment where I'm customizing things. Like, I don't have a store yet. There will be an online store with products, but right now I'm customizing products according to your needs, because I feel like we're all so unique and we all need something specific, and plants are very connected with, like, your energy and your emotions, and that becomes a physical thing. Right. So that's why also, you just don't ask, like, what hurts. It's also, how do you feel when that hurts, and what happened in the past few months that led to that, that pain or that emotion. So
it's all connected.
Yeah, it's all connected. So that I just, like, dug more deep into all of that, and right now I would really love for those products to come out more, and for people to, for mothers mostly, to find that and listen to their intuition, and also trust products that come from nature, from the earth, that have that naturalness to it, not so much relying on the pharmaceutical ones. Like, they have their place in time, because
100%.
Yeah,
100%. But it's not the only option.
Yeah, it's not the only option. Yes.
That's incredible, Mel.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's just that transformation and that growth that happens when you really see that other part of yourself, and that, like you said, like, that you feel so much compassion for that woman that was before you had your, for lack of a better term, awakening, right? Because that's really what it is. You open up your eyes, and, like, I tell my mom too, like, your third eye really does open when you have your babies, because your body, your mind, and your soul evolves into the person that you were always meant to be. And the fact that you found that part of yourself through Mother Nature, of all of the mothers out there, because there's the Divine Mother, there's Mother Nature, there's so many different ways that you can find that part of yourself. It's so beautiful that you found that with Earth. Question, is your element Earth?
I am water.
Water.
That's why I just transform.
That's amazing.
And I'm not afraid of transformation.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it's extreme transformations.
Yeah.
Because on top of that, my zodiac sign, I'm a Scorpio.
Oh.
So there's the darkness and always clearing things out that are just not useful anymore.
Yeah.
That's how my life is.
That's amazing. My husband is a Scorpio, and my dad is a Scorpio, and we have this like family joke that when my dad and my husband don't want anything negative in their life and want to get rid of things in their life, they become that Scorpion and they go whoosh. They like inject it with their, with their Scorpion. It's just like, whoosh, I see you, out of my life. And that's so beautiful that you recognized all of that after having your baby. Not even after, during pregnancy, which is such a sacred process that we go through. And sometimes it can take us a little bit of time to recognize what's going on. For me, it was when I started to actually feel the baby, it actually became real for me. But I was so distracted by all of the symptoms and all of the, malnourishment that happened during my pregnancies and being in the hospital in and out, that I wish I had like a midwife or a doula who could help ground me, who would take me outside and help me find holistic and spiritual ways of reducing my maternal symptoms. And if I could do it all over again, that's the route that I definitely would take, because I feel like I was robbed from a lot.
It's also how the system is set up.
100%.
It's how the
100%.
system is set up, and that's why you need more women that go through that experience of a natural birth, a natural pregnancy, so then you can guide other women that want to do that, but they have that fear. But it's because it's the system.
Yeah, no, it really is.
And,
it really is. And I talked about that in my other episode with my friend Francis, about talking about how the system can be the reason why we lose part of ourselves, especially during maternity and postpartum. Yeah. And if we talk more about it, like in the podcast and to other women and communities, about, hey, there's other options for you. There's options that are, one, less costly, and two, practices that you can do on your own. It doesn't have to be like going out and spending a lot of money on classes. It's really just internally finding yourself.
It's all of that, because that's where you find authenticity. We always want to go to somebody so they can tell us what to do, because we are so used to that. And since the system is built that way, even from school, you go to a teacher, someone has to tell you how this is, how that is, and then if no one says anything, then no one does anything. I'm not going to move because no one told me what to do next. And so yeah, I think like all of that, like having that experience was definitely eye-opening in that sense of authenticity and connecting and knowing my power and knowing that I can do it. And that's why, like you said, a lot of women are robbed of, to know that they are strong enough to go through this. We are meant to give birth.
Yeah. And I didn't feel that way. And it really sucks that I look back at that girl who was pregnant and felt disappointed in myself and in my body, because I said, this is supposed to be the most natural thing that is supposed to happen to any woman, and my body's fighting against me. So the fact that I felt like I was in battle with my own body was in and of itself so detrimental to my mental health, to my spiritual health, because I wasn't the problem. And there was really no problem. It was my body telling me, screaming for help, saying, you need to hear me. You need to work on your spiritual health. You need to look within. And I have to say, like, my pregnancy, although it was very hard with my first daughter, it was actually very detoxifying.
It is. The first one was like that to me too.
Like, I felt like I was detoxing from
purging things
energy, right?
Yeah.
And literally, because I had hyperemesis, so I was constantly vomiting and had constant like nonstop vomiting. So I felt like I didn't feel like I was sick or that I had a condition. I felt like I was releasing things that I had been carrying from my childhood, from my toxic relationship, from even the way that I was raised, because a lot of that came into my motherhood from the very beginning.
Yeah, you start seeing all of that as the pregnancy, progresses, and then when you give birth and then you become a mother and you see your kids growing, you think a lot, you witness a lot of that, and then you start seeing like your kids, how their personalities, what trait is from what family, what that specific person does, and how were they raised in your family. And then you start like trying to not fix it, but do better for like the next generation, you know? Like I find myself doing that a lot with my kids. It's like, okay, like you have the energy of this cousin, and this cousin used to get punished all the time because they were told that they were misbehaving, but not really. They just had this artistic side to them that they always needed to be like running around and moving. Yeah. And, you know, and then same thing, like my husband was like that when he was a baby, and he was a toddler too. And you know, my mother-in-law says, you know, he misbehaved all the time, and I would spank him, and it didn't matter. Like he would still do it. And my first is like that, but I don't see her as like, you know, you're that kid. It's like, no, you just want to keep going. You want to learn, and you want to keep absorbing. And, you know, if a lot of parents, I feel like, we want to have that special child that, you know, will change the world. Yeah. But I feel like, you know, you don't really think like how hard it is to raise a kid that has that personality. Yeah. You know, because they're not going to take no for an answer. They're not going to comply. They're very harsh, you know, to like raise. And, you know, a lot of us get like stopped at an early age to really become and evolve our true selves. And that, you know, affects us when we become older. You know, that's probably why also my early years, I was lost, you know, because I didn't have that guidance. My mom didn't have that guidance. And now I am opening a better path for my kids. I have 2 daughters. So everything that I'm doing now, I'm realizing is working with females, working with other women with the female energy. And a few years back, I saw myself as like, I'm none of that. Like, I can't be that girly girl, or I can't be that like beautiful woman there. I'm like, I had too much like that male energy, and I had a lot of male friends, and it was always like, no, like I'm tough. But it's like, no. And now with my daughters, I have to teach them how to be girls and turn into women. You know, I got to guide them. So this is also part of it. And it's kind of hard for me to accept that. And I sometimes do feel uncomfortable when I'm surrounded by other women because I feel like I'm not good enough to be in those circles, you know? And I see a lot of women. I'm like, oh, you're so beautiful. I'm like, but like, I don't know. I'm so weird. And, you know, like that's still there, but it's an everyday work, you know?
Yeah, and those insecurities everybody feels. Everybody in that room is going to feel it. But I love how you talk about like not dimming our kids' light. And that's something that we reflect on when we have kids, especially girls, because they're a reflection of us. When I see my daughter, I see myself. I see my little Lulu, you know, running and playing with her. Yeah. So it's so important to mother yourself, to mother the little girl that is internally still there. Give her what she would have wanted, you know, the nurturing, the encouragement to be free and weird and crazy and energetic. And then once you mother yourself and allow yourself to be that person, then you'll be able to do that with your kids. And it's just, it was so eye-opening for me to see that as a mom early on. And also I had postpartum depression, so it was hard for me to connect with my daughter. I was like, you know, I should connect with her. Why does she feel like my little sister? You know, why doesn't she feel like my daughter? Why doesn't she feel like, why don't I feel like the authority figure? And then I realized that you can't put a label to how you feel when you're a mother. It's not about being an authority figure or the person who tells the child what to do, or even the primary caregiver. It's really just about allowing your kids to become the people that they're supposed to be, and just guiding them and helping them get to that light, to that person that they're supposed to be, and wherever that leads them. And so once I realized that, motherhood became fairly easy
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, also you're growing with your child, you know.
Exactly.
So you're learning every day. You cannot plan what's gonna happen in a year. What you're gonna do with your child in the next year.
That's so hard for me because I'm a Capricorn, so I am like type
planning.
A. I have to have everything planned.
Mm-hmm.
But if I look back on my life, everything I planned, nothing went my way.
Nothing
you know,
worked
I had
that
a
way,
baby
yeah.
out of wedlock. I was a single mom. You know, I met my husband and the love of my life after, at the end. Everything happened in disorder. So that disorder really helped me in motherhood, just kind of just let go and surrender.
Yeah, I think that's just what happens. Like I said, my life was chaos. I live a very chaotic life with my partner that I knew it was the love of my life, and I did ended up with him, which, you know, if anybody knew our story, they would just be like, oh, he was a red flag, you know? But I'm just this like hopeless romantic. And it was just like, you know, like we you know, I'll go to hell with you to get you. You know, like that's just how I was always with him. And we were like that with each other. And we did grow. We grew. And like I love him as a father. I love how he is with us. And I see myself with him always, you know, and that's why we also got married. But it's like that's what I would say. Like, we're all so unique, you know, we can't just say like, you know, just because there's this happening in your life then, or somebody else's life, that's what's going to happen to you, you know, like, yeah, so
everything comes when it comes. And
yeah, and everybody has their story.
Everybody has their story. And I'm of the belief that when your soul decides to come here, you sign a contract knowing the things that are going to happen in your life. And so nothing that happens in your life is by accident. The experiences that happen, whether it's motherhood, whether it's traumas and hard experiences, good experiences, those are all things that are supposed to happen in your life, whether they're good or bad. The bad ones are lessons. The good ones are triumphs. And that's kind of really helped me be able to live my life with compassion, you know, compassion for other people.
Too,
like letting everybody's going through their own journeys, their own contracts that they signed. And we're just lucky people that we get to be part of that. And I think the big thing for me was forgiveness and finding forgiveness and compassion for myself, because I lived with a lot of guilt of like, I wish Estella's birth would have been beautiful.
It's a tough one. Women don't get to experience that. It's a tough one, because like we were saying, you were robbed of that, you know. If we lived in a different world.
Right. And also like I have the guilt of, like, I'm so sad and disappointed that my relationship with Estella's dad didn't work out, because then she would have her mom and her dad together. But now I look back, and it's not about not loving someone. It's like, it's about being able to be with somebody who you can love all the versions of themselves. And like you said with your husband, you guys grew together, and you were not the same people that you were when you met, when you were 18. You were 18?
I was 18 when I started dating him. He's like 3 years older than me.
So it's like you guys lived so many lives together. We lived
so many versions of ourselves, and we know everything about each other. And we've been down so many times, and we helped each other get up, and we never left each other for that, you know, and that made us stronger. So that's the thing. That's why I think like I stayed with him, because even if I was like kind of like more my consciousness was a little more here, and then his was also not catching up to my evolution, then he will get a change, and then he'll come and meet me at my level. So we keep doing this dance all these years, and it's like, no, like, you are the one. You come, we're still together. We still like do this growth. Like, that's what I said. Like, a few years ago, we would have never been like, oh, kids, like a family being married, like what? And now we're so in it, and then we have this devotion towards that. And now, like, I have this business with, like, involving nature and bringing that back to mothers. And I would eventually want to become also not become, I think I already am, but I just want to find more of the women that want support in home birth. I want to be a free birth, keeper, so I can help other women give birth at home. I want to support that. And I see that as being that's my power. That's I can my purpose. I can help other women do that. That's why I went through my experiences. So my second daughter was also a free birth at home.
Wow.
And once I experienced the first one, I knew my power, and I was like, no, the second one's the same way. It's going to happen. Wow. And I think it made it even easier the second time, because I knew where it was going. But with my second pregnancy, I actually had a closer encounter with God, which is something that I left a long time ago, and religion wasn't really my thing. And I was looking for spirituality in other ways and other practices. And with being pregnant with my second one, was like, no, God, Jesus Christ, He's there. Like, He will protect you. That's all you need. That's all I kept hearing. That's all you need. It needs to be simple. Like, simplify your life and surrender. Surrender with grace and give yourself to God. And when I was, like, about to give birth, that's what I said. I said those words, and I'm like, this baby is going to come out in the next 3 hours. And I was like, God, I'm in your hands.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And it was the easiest, fastest, like, birth from my first compared to my first one. My first one was full of like spirits that I felt, souls that came to see what was happening, and because of also where I was in my life at that moment. And this one, I kept it very simple. I protected my space, and I was like, okay, it's my baby and me and his dad, and I had my 2 sisters with me helping, and I'm like, it's just us, and we're protected. It was so simple, and more like, and also the way she was born, and the next few days she was so calm. She was just sleeping, and me too. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna rest. It was so easy having the second one that it made me be like, okay, I can have a third one too. Like, it's fine. I can do the third one.
That's amazing. With each pregnancy, you believed in yourself, and you had that power. It grew bigger and bigger with each pregnancy. And also, there's a lot to say about, labor for you is traumatic, but for a baby, it's also traumatic. That's how they come into this world. So the fact that you are able to have control over the environment that your baby comes
with
into.
With that awareness and practicing intuition, I learned to really listen to my body when your body starts opening up during like when you're going to push. You feel everything, and then I was going away from the thought of like, this is not pain, this is just what my body needs to do, and you have to breathe through it and surrender to that that feeling. Because that too, everybody will tell you it's so painful to give birth, contractions are so painful, everything is painful, it's painful, and that's all you're like kind of like brainwashing yourself through the pregnancy. Pain, oh my God, that moment when it comes, it's the going fear. And then you like tighten up, and you get all tight, and that's not what you're supposed to do. No. You gotta do the opposite, and you gotta dance, and you gotta move. And I did all of those things. So like, and then I saw, like, that's why the second birth I practiced more of that. Like, okay, let go, you got this, you just relax, breathe through it, connect, like listen to your body. I was guiding everybody in my second birth. I was saying, you need to bring me water, you don't touch this, let me be here, I'm going on the floor, I'm going there. And and there was a lot more power, and And I think that's why also my husband was like, whoa, like that second one. And
Yeah.
he was able to be involved more because he knew it was coming too. Like the first one, it was like also nerve-wracking. And it's like, I hope the baby's okay. I hope you're okay. You know,
Right, 'cause this is your first time. You don't know what to expect.
Yes. But the only thing I knew with my first one is like, I'm not going to the hospital. No. Whatever happens, I give birth at home. So just having that already, you know, not what if. I did not plan for a what if, and I was you know, I wanted to do that at home, and I knew it needed to happen. And then the second one was just like simple, easy.
Yeah. And that's the power of the mind. I mean, I know that everybody says, like, don't have any expectations when it comes to your birthing. You know, it's best to not have a plan because things can happen. Yes, but if you put it out into the world, you know, what it is that you want. Not specifics like, oh, I want it to be unmedicated. Oh, I don't want to have a C-section. Even more specific than that. It's more not on the external, but more internally. What do you want? What do you want to feel? I want to keep the peace. I want to feel the peace. I want to feel everything in my body. It's not pain, it's an experience. So removing the fear away from it and just putting light and good energy into it, then you'll prepare, your body will feel that, your mind and soul will feel that, and then things will happen the way they're supposed to happen. Whether that means doing it at home or doing it at the hospital. If you feel like you're going to have more peace knowing that you're going to be at a hospital, because there are a lot of moms that have high risk pregnancies, you know, preeclampsia and all of that, then allow yourself to be there, but just really, really think about what is it for you? What is best for you to find that peace so that your body and mind and soul are connected enough and comfortable enough to let go, like you said, to surrender.
Yeah, you can never force yourself to do something just to follow a trend just because you wish to like. You can't just say, I'm going to give birth at home because I see that as a trend that everybody's doing and they say it's beautiful, but deep down there's a fear. Yeah. Like you can't do that. Like you really have to do the work. Yeah. You really have to put yourself in it 100%. Like, you know, I did a lot of reading. I learned how to like find my baby's heartbeat at home, how to count the heartbeats and to make sure that she's okay. I learned how to, like, just like the old times, how to, you know, find the baby. Where is the head? Where is the legs? Where is that? Wow. And I follow that, and I follow, you know, the food that I needed to eat. I make sure I rested. I make sure as much as you could. I mean, after having the first one, you have a baby to take care of too. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you really do have to
advocate for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's more responsibility, I think, than just like deciding the hospital, because things get done for you, you know, and then you don't know. So you have to prepare all of that at home. Yeah. You know, like same thing, like cutting the umbilical cord and, you know, cleaning the baby. And well, for me, it's just something so natural that needs to happen, and it comes easy to me, and that's why I want to show other mothers and, you know, help them if they really want something like that, but they might not have that support, because you do need a support system and a few close, you know, people in the space when you give birth, whether it's your husband, your mother, you know, because it's a lot to do. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. But speaking of support, I love how you were talking about in your first pregnancy, you felt supported with the physical people in this physical world, but you said you also felt a support system from the other side, your ancestors and other women. How did that feel to have that duality of having your village here because that's where the term your village, it takes a village, comes from. Because in the olden days, that's what it was. I read somewhere like the indigenous culture is that one woman and one man do not make a village. The term comes from having the whole village come together and take care of this baby, of this new soul. So how cool was that for you to feel that?
It was more like you feel that you're doing the right thing. You're in the right path. It's like, okay, this is you did it. You are where you're supposed to be. Your baby's taken care of, and those are my ancestors are the ones that I'm listening to, into guiding me into what's next also for them. That's why I'm learning more about the family, not just my side of the family, but my husband's, because now we are married, and then we have connected to different DNAs.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are we making now? What type of a human being out of both cultures and his ancestry too?
Yeah, that's so important.
I still feel guided. I still feel guided by them. They come every now and then through dreams, through visions, intuition, whatever it is. And I listen and I look more into it. And I talk a lot with my husband. We talk a lot about when that happens. I sit down and then I mention, and then we do a lot of communication about this, on how we see their personalities, what we'd like to change about ourselves, also what we are going through, what type of change we are going through now. And and I try to keep it as present as possible, because if I start thinking when they become older, my kids, and then adults, and then teenagers, I'm like, whoa, that's so much.
It's hard.
I'm like, it's overwhelming. I don't want to doubt myself as a mother.
Yeah.
Am I doing the right thing?
Exactly.
You don't want to get in that
That's
mindset.
so hard, because you're literally like creaking that door open so that fear comes in.
Yeah.
So even just the fact that you recognize that that's what's happening, you just quickly shut it out. And it's so hard for moms, especially, to not let their minds go to that
It is hard,
path.
but you have to, so you can enjoy your kids, because you enjoy the moment, because they're all about the moment right now. The little ones, they don't care what happens tomorrow. They want you there. They want you now. They want you to play with them. They want you to sit down and eat with them or feed them.
Exactly.
It's something that warmth, that emotion fills them up, and then that will make them a great human being one day. So that's why the whole planning and the whole like thinking if you're doing the right thing or not, like just sit down and play with your child, and then you're doing the right thing, and that serves as guidance as to what to do next.
Exactly. I think that's something very important that I learned this past year, specifically about how the ego plays into our motherhood roles. And I've realized that ego is a thief. If you let ego help you in your parenting, and if you let ego be present in your marriage, in your relationships, if you let it be present within yourself and in the things that you love and that you do, it's going to steal from you. It's going to steal the most precious things, which is time, your time with your kids, that presence of being there. So that's been a lot on my mind the last year, trying to recognize, is this me, or is this my ego trying to take the wheel, trying to drive? And I think, is it okay for my ego to drive at this moment? Because sometimes it is, when we're being concerned for our kids' safety. And like when my daughter was being bullied at school, I got in my head a lot about that, but it was in the right place, So there are times when, yes, it is a good moment for your ego to come in and be not fearful, but concerned. But there are a lot of moments where you need to push it aside and be like, you don't need to be here. This fear doesn't need to be here. This sadness or guilt doesn't need to be here. How has that played into your mother experience and also as a business owner?
Well, again, intuition. Intuition is a big one, because then you know how to separate it. Like, is this really something I should like be alert about, or is it just a fear that comes, or just something else? Because we have that radar, as mothers, like, if like your kid's going, if that's dangerous for your kid to do, and then it's good to go there. You anticipate it, or you guide them through it.
That's really good. Intuition is a good word.
Yeah, intuition is very, very powerful. Wow. And it leads to so many. It will answer a lot of questions for a lot of people, because so you don't doubt. You really need to keep asking yourself, where is that coming from? Where is that feeling? Where is that fear coming from? That's why also plants or herbs are really good for you, to open up the intuition, to help you see, to help you develop that, because it's a practice that you need to put into your daily life. So that's why drinking tea, putting an intention into that, and using certain herbs. Mugwort is really good for intuition.
What is it?
Mugwort. Artemisa.
Oh, okay.
It's very abundant here, and it's seen as a weed, and then people don't really care for it, but it's everywhere. And you can take a bath with it. You can, make a tea. You can put it under your pillow. It helps you with dreams. It connects you more. It tonifies your uterus. So that's where intuition comes from. This, the place where we create life. So all of this needs attention all the time, especially as women. We need to always be connected with our cycles. And the more we connect with it, the more we'll understand our emotions and where that comes from. And there are moments, if you have fear, or if you are burnt out, you need to step back. You need to step back and not try to always do stuff and keep putting energy into something else, because then you raise your cortisol levels, and then that also creates doubt in the things that you do in your business and motherhood and as a wife, and then we're just crash. Oh,
it's so hard not to get to that point.
But we are, we have so many tools around us, and we just gotta use them. We gotta use them so we can find that balance.
Let's talk about hydromels. Tell me what kind of services you offer for moms, and specifically, what are they coming to you for? What do you offer them?
Okay. Well, hydromels pretty much doing a lot of customized medicine for women, especially prenatal and postpartum. So supporting the nervous system, and supporting your vitamins and mineral intakes during pregnancy. I also just released a new service that is the spirit bathhouse services that we're going to do. And that is focused in also the postpartum, the prenatal, but also to birth something new in your life, which it could be a business or a new milestone that you're or a birthday, a solar return, you want to do a ritual and honoring all of that. And same thing if there has been trauma, you can do baths for that. And with the bath, you also get a reading, an energetic reading, to see what type of plants connect to you that you need that support. So then I connect you with those plants so you can work with them in the next few months and see how that helps you transform in general.
So this is the first part that came out. And this is a peach tree. We have got it fixed all marked right now. We just left it to water, flowers all around, and then there's a little road there. So this came out, and I was reading a little bit about the peach, and this was the first poppy. California poppy, it's a flower that you can make it as tea or tincture. It's really good for relaxing and enjoying yourself. So the message was that to focus on your children. All that imposter syndrome is a psychological imprint, not an imprint of the soul. So it can easily be transmuted. Okay. So think of your children. Go with them. Since I believe that can be dismantled by becoming creative. So that's why you sit down and play with your kids or do something creative with them. Because they will bring you back. They're going to ground you back.
So accurate, because I feel my most self when I'm with my kids. Because they bring that little child in me. Especially when I'm doing something creative with them, like dancing and singing, which is my background, singing. So finding myself within the activities that I do with them definitely grounds me.
Yes, because they're going to keep you in that playful mood. They're not going to start getting distracted with what's happening in the outside world. So it's always good to go to them when you feel that way and you enjoy that. So that was the 7 of Earth, which is the oak, and the oak is one of the oldest trees around. They live forever. It's the legacy they leave behind. They're always dropping their seed, and then the tree pops up. The last card to complete the reading, and you're the magician right now. That's why I told you to get sunflowers.
Oh my god!
The magician is the first card of the tarot deck. No, it's the second card. The first one is the Fool. The Fool, you're already transmuted into the magician now because you did all the work that you've done. That was the Fool. You know, the mistakes, the falling, all of that. Now you know your magic. You have your magic, and now you have to just use the tools that are provided to you to keep making that magic and spreading it and evolving into the being that you're meant to be. Okay. So all the information necessary to create life is contained in the seed. And the elements help it grow. The water helps a plant grow. The sun the leaves turns the sun's energy into food for the plant. The ground spreads the roots.
And I also provide like the new birth baths for babies, which is also, it's a very beautiful thing. It's a ritual, and it kind of reminds them that they're back in the womb. And same thing with like mothers, like, you know, when you do a bath, it's warm water. It's like being in a womb. That's why it's considered like a rebirth when you bathe yourself. It's a very nice rituals because you're back in a womb and water, and then water has memory. So in water, you can either release all that you have and water will wash it all away, or you can activate water with the intentions that you want, and then you soak yourself in it.
Welcome back.
Wow.
So I'm bringing back all these simple rituals that we have always done, you know, that our mothers or ancestors, well, I don't know if a lot of mothers are still doing that, but my mom actually, she did a lot of that when we were kids. She would give us baths outside, and she would warm the water with the sun, and she'll put plants, she'll put, I think, I think ruda. I don't know, you know ruda. That's a very, very, very famous plant in my household, and it's meant for cleansing energy. Because also kids absorb a lot of that. We're very open. We're very, and women are too. So they need more of that cleanse than men.
Yeah,
men are more like, you know, grounded here in the 3D world, and then I work physical stuff. Like we are everywhere, and then our energies are everywhere, and we're very perceptive, and all of that needs that cleanse, and it needs to be released. So
I actually do that with my kids. I do that with my kids, especially my daughter Estella, who's a very sensitive girl. I realized when she was in dance class that every time she came back from her dance class, she came back with very low energy. I could feel her, just like, not just low energy, but she had like this energy attached to her that didn't belong to her. And I didn't know what it was from, or if it was from somebody in her class, or if it was just her maybe doing something that she didn't love. And that can happen with kids who feel forced to do things that they're not wanting to do. It kind of dims their light. So I started doing that after her dance class, kind of cleansing her. And I realized that the person who was kind of charging her with that negative energy was her dance teacher of all the people. So I immediately took her out of that class. And now I know that I'm able to come home and bring her to the bath and cleanse her, and she feels so much better. And it's just a way of energetically balancing out our kids. And everybody's always asking me, like, how is Estella so happy and confident, and her self-esteem is always very high, and she's such a light? Well, I'm really happy that people see that. But when she's not like that, I also encourage her to be, you know, sad and angry and whatever, and to release that. And if I still feel like she's carrying that, then I bring her to take a bath. Because now she takes showers. She's like a big girl. So she's like, I don't want to take a bath. And I said, you know, this is a cleansing bath. This is going to cleanse your body, and it's going to cleanse your inside, the inside, what you're feeling. It's going to bring you some peace. And so now she understands that doing the bath is not just for the bubble bath, you know, it's not just for fun. But it's more of a, like you said, a ritual. It's a way of helping our kids to kind of come back to themselves.
Yeah, you help them ground themselves again. Yeah, because they absorb. They're very visual. They see everything. They hear everything. We think they don't, but they do. And they're always there. And they see probably beyond what we see at times. And we don't know that, you know. So they do need that support. And, you know, mothers, when they give birth, after they give birth, there's also a lot of spirits around. And then we also get recharged by other things that are not supposed to be there, and that needs a cleanse. That needs to go. And baths are also good for depression. So if you have postpartum depression, that also helps you with that. And the herbs that I connect you with, you will also be taking as teas, and that can also will help you internally. And because all of that becomes a physical thing, something's gonna hurt. You know, a lot of us, we got like, you know, like your neck hurts, your back pain, there's all of this pain here. Like I have a lot of tension here from taking care of the kids. And then when I get really overwhelmed, like then I feel like a sharp pain in this side, and I'm just like, okay, I need to release this. I need to, you know, you go get a massage, or you do the baths, you drink a tea to help you calm down and lower the cortisol levels, because we also keep going and we don't like stop. So I can help women. I can guide them through that.
Yeah, guiding them through listening to themselves.
Developing their intuition.
Yeah, that's so amazing. I love that you do that. The intuition part is something I don't think I do intention. That is like a huge thing for me. It's a new habit that I'm starting to do. Like everything I do, I want to do it with intention. And it's helped me be a little bit more present in everything I do, from work, from raising my kids, from self-care, you know, because anybody can go and get their nails done. But like if you're there with intention and feeling what's going on and doing, you know, when they, you know, wash my feet, it's like, it's a different experience.
Yeah.
It's a completely different experience. But the intuition part of it is so important. So important. Thank you so much, Mel. I'm so excited for us
You're
to do the
welcome.
bath.
Thank you.
Are you ready?
I am ready. We
I
can
am
do the bath.
so ready. I have been like energetically preparing myself for this. I know that I'm going to feel so released, and I have to just remember to surrender to everything that comes along. And yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Let's do
Okay,
it.
let's do it.